Right, hopefully everybody can see that all right. So just kind of a quick set of housekeeping. We will have Q&A at the end, but if you do have a question at any point during the presentation, please do not hesitate to either post it in the chat, we'll be monitoring that, or if you prefer, you can certainly unmute yourself and ask your question, and we will do our best to respond. So just a quick background of kind of why we're here. Paragus IT is an employee-owned company located in now both Western Massachusetts and Central Massachusetts. We have about 60 full-time employees, and we support the IT networks of about 150 companies throughout Western and Central Massachusetts. One of the things that makes us unique is that we are an employee-owned company, and so we work really hard collectively to each of our partners ensuring that our customers are having the absolute best possible experience they can. And to that, one of our key focuses that we often talk about and that you can see highlighted in a lot of our materials is this idea of making IT fun, finding ways to try to make the frustration in technology a little bit more accessible. And that's really what we're going to be talking about today, is the frustration of trying to make business decisions, get intelligence about our business, know where to turn, know whether to pivot, all that information that is so critical. It's sometimes hard to get, and that's what we're going to kind of tackle today with our speaker. Just a quick overview of how Paragus is structured. We do have 4 distinct departments. We have our on-demand support, which is where our day-to-day help desk handles day-to-day issues that our users are having. We have a security and compliance department that's there to help customers with their more complex needs and to make sure that their networks are safe and secure and that nothing bad happens to them. We have strategic planning folks, which are there to help our clients identify how they can be using technology better, how to plan for the future, and how to figure out how to make technology work for their business. And then we have our automation division, which is where today's presentation really lands. Automation is about leveraging tools to make the business more efficient or more intelligent. So giving business owners and business operators the tools they need to make their business easier to run on a day-to-day basis. And the foundation of our 4 departments is our products department. They help out to make sure that whenever we do an IT project for a customer, we have an actual project manager overseeing that project and ensuring that it stays on track and on budget. So let's just recap briefly why we're here. I know everybody's really busy. You've taken time out of your Thursday to attend this webinar. So what is it about this topic that I think has so many people interested in learning more? Well, I think if you're like me and a lot of other business owners, you're finding that there are more decisions that need to be made than ever. Things seem to be moving really quickly, and there's constantly people coming to you with, do we pivot left? Do we pivot right? Do we do this? Do we do that? What's the best way to handle this? How are we doing? Should we do more of this? Should we do less of this? Should we hire? Should we fire? Should we increase prices? Should we decrease prices? There's so many things, and it seems like not only are there more decisions than ever, but they need to be made faster than ever. It just seems like everything is moving so quickly right now that it's really critical that we are able to make decisions and make them very quickly. However, unfortunately, despite the fact that the world has evolved, a lot of businesses, when it comes to the information and intelligence they're using to make those decisions, hasn't evolved. There is still a lot of kind of historical reports that are coming out of financial systems, sometimes 15, 30 days later. We're using, all kinds of disaggregated data from lots of different sources and trying to compile it mentally in our own heads to figure out how all the data points connect. And it all is just very disorganized, and therefore that makes it hard to interpret. And oftentimes what I've seen is it ends up with only a small portion of the picture. We're not able to see the true scope of everything that needs to be done because we're only getting bits and pieces, and we're stringing those together and we're seeing some of the picture, but we're not seeing the whole picture. And that really handicaps our ability to make really good decisions really quickly. So that kind of is what brings us together today. What if there was a better way? What if you could have real-time intelligence coming to you from all your different systems? What if you could get the data from your ERP or your EMR or your CRM to compile against your financial data from QuickBooks or Dynamics, compiled with your data from HubSpot or Salesforce, and see everything in one place, see it in real time, and be able to visualize it in a way that gives you the information you need to make smart decisions. And that's really what brings us here today. So without any further ado, I'm going to welcome and introduce our guest speaker today. We have Drew Sadowski, who was the owner of Williams Distributing, along with his family. They have sold that business, but Drew took a lot of the skills and experiences he built during that process and has turned it into a consulting business where he's helping organizations like you and us use data better and be smarter about the way that we use data. And the key tool that we're going to focus on today is a tool called Microsoft Power BI. If you've never heard of it before, it's a tool that is built into Microsoft 365. Most of you may have seen it or may have accessed it and maybe didn't even realize it. It's included in a lot of subscriptions. And if you don't have it in your subscription, it's an easy enough thing to add to your subscription at a fractional cost compared to the amount of value that it can produce. And what makes it so powerful, as Drew's going to show us, is its ability to pull data from lots of different sources and put it together. So without any further ado, I am going to stop sharing my screen and hand things over to Drew.
All right. Well, thank you, Delcy, and thank you everyone for joining us this morning. And let's begin. So I'm going to talk to everyone a little bit about my background and how I help companies embrace change. The focus is going to be on business intelligence platforms, which, as Delcy explained, that's what Power BI is. But in order to understand what Power BI is in a BI platform, you need to really understand what the foundation of a digital transformation is. So I'll be talking about what digital transformation is, then I'll go into a little bit about an actual demo, and then talk about how you can actually implement this for your business. So keep in mind that technology is highly dependent on how you implement it. So two of the same technologies. So if you use Salesforce for your business, you could have Salesforce in two different businesses, and it's not the same in both places. You have one person that absolutely loves it, another person that hates it, and it's all about how it was set up and configured within your business. So that has to do with your digital transformation and maturity, configuration, and just how it was set up in your business. So the other thing to keep in mind is Power BI has so much to it. So I'm going to be talking about parts of it, and there's so much more you can do, so much more robust functions that it has. So if there's something you're wondering it can do, it probably can do it. I'm just not touching on everything today. So the plan is to talk about 40 minutes, hand it back to Delcy for a minute, and leave room for some questions at the end. So a little bit about me. Some of you might know me. If you don't, my family story is we sold Williams Distributing about 2-3 years ago. It was a family-owned business in Chicopee, Massachusetts that we've had for about 70 years. It was a beer distribution business. And it's the reason why I started my journey going to business school, my financial journey, kind of everything you see on the screen in front of you today. So I watched the first and second generation do an amazing job growing the business. And that's the reason why the third generation decided to purchase the business, because we're really excited about everything that they did and the lifestyle it provided for our family. When I got involved, my focus was really based on efficiency, profitability, visibility, and eventually showcasing the business to potential buyers. But when I started my career, I didn't know the power of data or what transformation could do for a business. So my natural instinct has always kept me going in the right direction. I really haven't had too many regrets about the direction that I've gone. So at Bentley, I really focused on numbers and finance and accounting, and just really focused on using data and quantitative methods to kind of solve problems. I continued in my education and went through the CFA program, which is a big thing in the investment industry. And then before moving to Western Massachusetts, I thrived at a specialty finance company in Boston. But then it was time to move back to Williams Distributing. So at Williams, I did a lot, but the two biggest things I think I did was the financial and digital transformation for the business. So on the digital side of the transformation, we had a legacy system that we used for the business called HighJump, and it helped us organize all of our information. And when I first got there, there was a lot of reporting and organization things that the system did. And by the end of the time I was at Williams, we ended up transforming to a new system. We were able to organize and understand our business in a way that allowed us to get deeper insights into the business. And the other side was a financial transformation, which allowed us to get better controls and change old accounting processes that were just doing the same old thing for years and years that really didn't work. They were just someone that just took a process that the person was doing before. So in the end, we got a better sense of what we're doing in the business. So after all these transformations, we had to make a decision, and we decided that we need to get bigger or get out. So after 70 years of owning a family business, we decided it was time to get out. So the result, the transformation gave us increased confidence and clarity in the business. So because of the transformation, we had more confidence in our financial numbers and the value of our business. And then we were also very confident and clear in all the due diligence we were able to gather on our business. So when we went through the process, we were actually able to market the business to the extent that our buyers did not have any questions on the due diligence to give us any haircuts or questions on the valuation. It was a very smooth process. So after going through this whole thing, I realized that this would be very challenging for someone to do if you did not have the background and skill set that I possessed. So fast forward, and I realized after the sale of the business and reflecting that what I want to do is help other businesses implement and support their own digital and financial transformation. So now I help businesses create customized solutions to support their own businesses. So what is a digital transformation? So very simply, it's solving traditional problems with technology. And it's really a 4-step process. It starts with your systems and processes, and it leads into data analysis and reporting, which is your business intelligence, which is why we're here today. So your systems are really your primary system that integrates all your information into your business, and your processes are really just how you interact with your systems. So your process can be one of two things. It can be human interaction. So someone just bringing a receipt into your payroll office to enter that in, or it could be an automated process where you take a picture of a receipt, email it to an email address, and have AI process it directly into a database. So that's a more mature process. And then when you get into more data analysis and reporting, this is how you take all the information processed from your system and processes and change it from raw data into information and insights and actually do something with this information. So then you get to the point where you're actually reporting and using business intelligence, why we're here today. So what business intelligence does is you take all the information from your accounting software, your payroll software, marketing, Excel, your ERP system, maybe it's a website or another database, and you funnel it all together into a form that you want to view it on, whether it's your mobile phone, your tablet, or maybe your laptop, and customize it exactly how you want to view your business. So the other question you got to ask is, where does this live in your business? And this is the other part of my business, and that is your finance department. They're already addressing a lot of your business. They already have transactions from your entire business because that's where your income statement is, and they touch your sales department, your operations, whatever other parts of your business might be. So financial transformation is essentially the same exact thing. It's just your digital transformation for your finance department. So I also help businesses with non-tax accounting services for your business and any sort of outsourced CFO services. So kind of at a high level, this is the transformation with BI being at the bottom part of it. And in order for your BI to get the most impact and the most value, the better your systems and processes are integrated into your finance department, the more advanced, the more real time, the better accuracy, the more insights you're going to get, you'll receive from having a more mature digital transformation process. And this goes into one of the pillars that Delcy was talking about earlier with automation and kind of bulking all that stuff up about your business. So why do we need a data dashboard? Very simple, to make better decisions. So if you have incomplete and inaccurate information, you tend to make worse decisions. So how do we change this? If you provide better information, you create a culture of data-driven decisions and promote strategic decision-making. So there's several barriers to complete and accurate dashboards. The first one, as I just talked about earlier, is data from multiple sources. So, if you have data from multiple sources, it's really tough to aggregate it and understand what's happening, whether you're doing it in your head, if you're putting it into a spreadsheet program and then trying to do calculations and manipulate the data. Choose how you do it, but it's a very time-consuming process and there's prone to human error. Now there's time to prepare the reports. So if it's a Friday morning, someone's doing the report, you have to wait for someone to come in. They have to download the data, they have to prepare the reports, format it, or whatever they might do to get in a form that's ready for you. And that's also time that they're not actually using to analyze the data. Another barrier is inaccurate or inconsistent data. So what this is, if you ever got in two reports that you're expecting to show very similar information, but for some reason they're showing different information, or maybe it's, expect both the sales data to look exactly the same, and for some reason they're conflicting. And now if you were to make a business decision off the wrong information, well, that's not very good for your business either. Another barrier would be that reports are everywhere. So do you get them via email? Are they printed out for you? Are they on your ERP system? Do you have to go to a website to download reports? Where are you getting your information? And then the other thing to think about is how many reports are getting made for your business that aren't even being reviewed? And that's just a complete waste of time right there. Another problem with is poor report design. So there's a lot of reports that are built that really just aren't designed to be understood very well. So you have bar charts that really just aren't easy to understand. They take more effort than it's worth to really understand what you're looking at. And there's just a better way to digest the information. And then finally, the time and cost to implement a new solution might just feel overbearing. And realistically, you might actually be better off implementing a new solution, because this modern day and age, the cost of not implementing a solution might be something you can't afford. So what is the solution? So the business intelligence industry has created platforms that allow for a customized and secure method of accessing all your data on any device. So right now, the industry is around $22 billion. And in the next 6 years, it's looking to be around $43 billion. That's a pretty large increase. And it's understandable, though, based on how much benefit you get from these platforms. So why is BI important? Pretty much gives you a competitive edge against your competition, and it's one that you really need in this day and age. So data analytics makes your decision-making 5 times faster. Over almost half the businesses out there are already using BI as part of their core business strategy. And 70% of organizations actually find data discovery and visualization critical to their business strategy. So how does BI work? As I already mentioned a bit, you identify where your information is stored. That's part one. So the second part is you need to set up your platform. This is where a lot of the operational efficiencies come in. So what you do is you figure out all your data and you start understanding where the data connects and how the data is merged together, so you can start creating relationships and saving all the manipulation that someone's typically doing on a weekly, monthly basis in a spreadsheet to make it so your different systems are talking together. Then the data is cleaned and merged, and then it starts refreshing on whatever period that you need to understand and digest your information. Then you get to the point where you start visualizing your data and you view it on whatever device you want. And whenever the end user wants to view it, they just hop on to powerbi.com, or whether it's on their phone or their tablet, they hop onto the app and they hit the refresh or go right into the interface and they view their customized dashboard when they want it. So a few primary benefits. I listed 9 of them out right here. I'm just going to highlight a few of my favorite ones. As Delcy kind of mentioned earlier, real-time decisions. You're not waiting a couple weeks for reports to be created. You're going through a digital transformation, so you're trying to get it so your insights are getting processed a little bit quicker, so your decisions are being made closer to real time instead of delayed. Your reports are customizable, so they look exactly how you want them instead of tables or forms that aren't as easy for you to understand. And then my favorite is really just operational efficiencies. The software is so easy to work with that besides the backend efficiencies of saving time of people preparing the reports, it's just, if you need a new report, you can just say you want something new, and to design a report in Power BI is so much faster than your traditional methods. So just quickly before I hop into the demo, some of you might be thinking, well, my current systems already have some reporting. It does a lot of what you're talking about. Well, why do I need to get a BI platform? So Salesforce is one of the top ERP systems out there, and they actually purchased Tableau because they realized that their reporting was subpar compared to business intelligence platforms. So they offer Tableau as an upsell to all their clients, and they promote that. And even though they do this, Salesforce still lets Power BI and other top BI connect through their open API and other connections to allow you to still put your data into Power BI. I've actually connected several different people through Power BI into Salesforce. It works great, but they realized that in order to advance their reporting, that business intelligence platforms is required. And then also, BI is just more robust than standard reporting. It allows you to integrate artificial intelligence, machine learning, forecasting models, and you can even get into more statistical and programming languages like R. All right, so the fun part. Let's hop into the demo. So now this is what Power BI looks like. This is called the Power BI app. I'm just going to quickly put that in full screen. So this right here is about 2 million rows of data. And I just downloaded this based off Iowa liquor sales. And for comparison to Excel, you actually couldn't open this file in Excel. It's just too large of a file. So Power BI has absolutely no problem running this. It processes the data really fast, as you'll see once I get into a little more, that it runs smoothly. And what I want to show you here is just the difference between looking at raw data in a data table, which is how your system stores information. And as you begin to transform it into a pivot table and then into the right visualization, how much easier it is to understand what you're looking at. So when you're looking at the data table, you can see certain things versus a pivot table on the right, which is what you'll see in probably most Excel platforms or spreadsheet solutions. So looking here on the data table, well, the total is pretty quickly identified, but that's really it that pops out. When you get to the pivot table, the total pops out, but then you can also start seeing, well, Q2 is the best quarter, Q4 is the worst quarter. So you have some seasonality in the business. Then also up here, you can see that, these are the top 3 categories, and then it's broken out by quarter. Well, that's pretty straightforward. And then if you want to create some charts, you add a column chart, which it looks a little bit nicer. Combined with the pivot table, you're able to see that there's some scale. So you realize how much worse the top 3 performer is versus the top 2, which gives you a little bit more information about what's happening. But then the way I would probably view it would be creating this area chart, because to me, this tells me the most about the information that we're looking at. So on the right-hand side, I created a quick summary table to tell me a little bit about the high level about the business. But then going through here, the seasonality is very clear. You can see that Q2 is the best, Q4 is the worst. But then you can also tell that the bottom one here actually doesn't have seasonality. And to prove that, you can use this feature in business intelligence called cross filtering, which allows me to zoom more into the 100 proof vodka, so the number 3 category. And now I can really tell that there's no seasonality here. And there's other cool things like you can use tooltips to drill into a quarter and get a sense of exactly what's happening and understand it better. But so it just gives you a better sense of when you have the right visualization, information just pops out in a better manner versus when you're using just a table or a visualization that doesn't properly describe the data. So when you're thinking of things that are based on time, you can think of a timeline like a line chart or an area chart, which is very similar to a line chart. So the next example I'm going to show you is using sales data. So what I did was I took my information from Williams Distributing and did what's called real world fake data. So essentially I took our information and just modified it. So it, all the information on here is completely fake, but I needed a data set to work off of. So what I want to show you here is similar concept of what things look like based on an Excel solution or just printing something out of a database versus what it could look like from a business intelligence platform perspective. So right here, you just have your total sales by employees and total sales by customers. Very straightforward. You just look line by line. If it's a printout, you got maybe 10, 20 pages to go through all these customers here. Not the most user-friendly and a lot of calculator work if you are looking at that. So now if this was in Excel, you would probably put some charts to be able to visualize it. And now you're able to see, okay, well, the top city is Springfield. And then over here, you can start understanding that sales by employee, you get a better sense of what's going on over here. Now, because this is on a BI platform, you have a little bit more functionality. So I can actually click on Boris, and now everything is cross-filtered. So I can understand what Boris's portfolio looks like, and everything is set to the 1.3 million. And I can see these are all Boris's customers. I can see that this is, the summary of Boris, and this is everything from Boris's, the city. And then if I actually want to highlight over Boris in Northampton, I can see the top 10 stores that Boris has in Northampton. This is called a customized tooltip that I created for this visualization. And now in here, I can see the revenue, the gross profit and units sold, and anything else I really wanted to create, I'd be able to layer onto this and create a completely customizable tooltip. And keep in mind, this whole entire dashboard is customizable. So this is what it looks like from a more traditional approach from a Excel spreadsheet solution. But from a BI perspective, you can look at it a whole new way. So this is how I would probably look at it to build out my BI dashboard. So here I'm looking at these 3 sales reps. I'm being able to map them over here on the right. And then on the bottom, I'm getting a quick view from a tree map, being able to understand where things fall, because from a map, I'm visually able to see where they are, which is great to understand maybe how much drive time my sales reps are doing and visually see where they are, where the bigger dots represent the size of the sales from a revenue perspective. So you can see that, this one here is probably a higher revenue than, some of these out here. But the true map will tell me very quickly how many sales they're having per area. So if I want to understand more about Rachel, I can just click on Rachel and understand that Springfield's her top location, and she's probably all over the place. So she might be more of a combo route, as what we would call it, and doesn't have the most succinct driving route by any means. And again, I created a customized tooltip over here that allows me to drill more into it. And these are all customizable. So, you can design these for your specific business. So if you want to learn certain things about your business, or you want to look about your business in a different way, you could completely do that. Other things you can look at is I put a few high-level statistics up top. So if you were to add these 3 sales reps up, it reaches 2.9 million. And I can keep going. Every sales rep I add, it just keeps populating and visualizing the data. And this data set probably has 500,000 to 1 million rows. So it's processing the information very quickly. There's very minimal lag. If I wanted to just look at Q2 of last year, I can filter by Q2, Q3, and everything just adjusts and updates accordingly. Another thing you can do is if you want to search by anything that has store in the name, you can filter it by that. So now there's 58 stores that have store in the name. And if you look at this tooltip, you can see that everything on here actually has store. You can type liquor, or if you're looking at your business, you probably have a specific thing or a specific store that you're searching for. that you'd want to learn more about. If you had a chain that you were looking for, you might want to search for a chain. There's so many ways of doing it, and this doesn't have to be a store name. You can set this however you want to do it from the search filter. If you want to do it for team leader, you could set it to be Springfield instead of store name, however you want to do it. Another cool thing that's in here is if you were the team leader for Boris and you want to learn more about Boris, you can do this thing called drill through. So this allows you to look at less from an executive perspective and drill into it from more of a sales rep review. So now this allows me to say, what's going on with Boris, and look at it more of a store level basis and get a better perspective of how is Boris doing, and really more of a individual level kind of one-on-one sales rep review of how's he doing, looking at it from the four different lines of business we have with beer, liquor, merchandise, and soda. Then visually being able to represent on a map, well, what's your drive time? And well, you got one down here that seems to be pretty big, so I guess that's okay, but really lets you be able to review the business in a whole different perspective. So the other dashboard I created for everyone to look at is just looking at financial expenses. So this is a traditional operating expense that you'd find on a business's financials. And you scroll down and looks traditional. This is kind of what you'd probably expect to see. From a BI perspective, I added this waterfall so you can visually see what you probably wouldn't be able to tell just quickly looking at this. Just where things are coming from. You're able to see a little bit more information when you add some KPIs up here, key performance indicators. So this is the change versus the prior year. And then you can even, again, create filters on what you want to look at. You might want to go through and say, what's it look like from delivery and warehouse, and just start seeing the business from how you want to look at it, or maybe you just want to look at delivery. Well, now you're seeing the business just looking at different categories and filtering it however you want to see things. Or maybe you want to look at it from a different BI perspective, which is how I created this dashboard right here. So what I did here was creating a waterfall that showed your gross profit leading to your net income, the sources of how you got there. And then down here, you're able to look at your delivery expenses, and really from a pie chart, being able to get a sense of where's my delivery departments getting exposure. And it's pretty clear right here that straight time pay is the result of most of my expenses in this department. And again, the filters here, you can go over here and you can add more columns here. This is actually where I wanted to point out another visualization thing, where with pie charts, once you start adding a lot of things, this just does not work out. You probably want to, when using a pie chart, keep it to maybe 4, 5, 6 different categories at most, because once you start getting a lot of labels on here, it just starts losing value and things get lost. All right, so now I want to show you a few different features on here. So one of the features I like is actually commenting. So if you've ever had a report and you had wanted to give feedback on the report, but you told them, hey, look at this line or come to this area. And it's not the easiest to communicate with other people based on data. So you can actually communicate based on specific line items in the view you're looking at on the report. So if I click on this comment that I made yesterday, it filtered based on the product loss and showed them exactly what I was looking at and made the comment. So I could reply to this, or I could actually have it so it popped up in their email to say, hey, Drew, can you please look at this and get back to me? Another one that I created, just look at our delivery expenses. And then the last comment that I created was a combination of our operations department looking at the payroll section to break it between delivery and warehouse. Just create a custom filter through here because I was curious what the exposure was there. Said, hey, great job, you're beating budget and you're also beating prior year. So that's just a good overview of what's happening from the different dashboards, some of the different visualizations you can use. And it's really just what works for your business and how do you want to customize things to make it so this technology works best for your business. So the last thing I want to show you in here is a traditional Power BI dashboard. So this should all look fairly familiar, but it's in what they call a dashboard. So this takes tiles from the report and puts it into a dashboard format. So you can see different components of the BI reports and summarize it into here. And then you can put your KPIs right here. So your key performance indicators. And then if you want to learn more about something, all you need to do is click on it and it drills right into the report, and you just start looking into your business and start asking the questions you want, and you can jump back into it and keep on going exactly how you want to go. So that concludes the demo part of it. So now I want to talk about the implementation of BI, and I just want to talk about a few challenges that you might go through from the implementation side of it. So the first one I want to talk to is data quality. So this kind of goes back to your digital transformation with your systems and processes. So BI only reports the information that is in your systems. It's not creating transactional data for you. It's just processing it from the data analysis and business intelligence reporting perspective. So very quickly, garbage in, garbage out. You give it bad data, it's not going to create good information about your business. So it goes back to how well are you recording data, how well you're processing your data, and really how well you're categorizing your business to allow you to get the insights you want. So assessing the quality of your systems and processes are very important. But one good thing is when you have BI, you'll actually get a better sense of the data and information in your business. So there's less dark data, it's called, in your business. So you'll get a better sense of what's going right and going wrong in your business, and give you a good opportunity to change how you're doing things in your current business. So change management is a huge thing when you're talking about technology. People have a fear of losing status or job security. So in general, people are concerned when new technology is introduced. So I would highly recommend getting more people involved up front, and even bringing in frontline employees, because they're the ones that are doing a lot of the transactional data when you're running your business. So if you have a delivery driver, they're the ones actually making the delivery and they know what's happening. So they can probably add more value than you think when it comes to the data being entered into your business. I'd recommend providing regular training, ongoing training. Then just make sure you're asking questions and getting feedback from everyone that's using your systems and processing data into your business, because again, it just really supports the data quality and supports everyone getting on board with what you're doing. And explain how the technology benefits everyone in the business. It's going to make their job easier, but then also explain how this is going to help the business, help the business with the long-term goals. And then finally, all this stuff really just helps increase the return on investment for this and increases the employee usage. So the last challenge that I kind of talked about earlier, but wanted to explain again, is just poor report design and data visualization. So once you create your business intelligence platform in your dashboard, you just want to make sure it's done right. So when you create a dashboard that looks like this, it's very cluttered. It's not easy to understand. You don't really know where to look. I won't do something like this. And then going back to the visual example, it's just, there's a lot going on here. I just make things so they're easy for your end user to really understand what's happening. So return on investment. Measuring an ROI for this is not as easy as you spend $100 and then you save $50 a year. In some cases, there will be a time where you can measure it like that, but it might be easier to think of examples on how this affects your business. So think of it like this. Every Friday, an employee runs a report. You download data from your current software and put it onto a spreadsheet, and then you put into the proper format for the business. They verify the accuracy of the report hopefully they remember to do this. They distribute the report by the end of the day, which means you had to wait for it. And if they were on vacation, they were sick, you get the picture. You might have to wait longer than you want to wait. They repeat the process every week. Did they do it consistently? And this is something that's 3, 4 hours, 2 hours, whatever it might be, but the time starts adding up. And if they quit or retire, then you got to make sure you train the next person to do it, and they have to do it the same exact way and make sure they're analyzing the report the same way. And chances are there might just be following the motion and they might actually not understand what they're doing. So this is just an example of how small changes in the process gives you building blocks of how you'll get a less traditional return on investment. So there are also other returns on investment that you might not be able to quantify, like confidence, control on your business, accountability, clarity on what's actually happening, productivity, and then just generally when people get a better sense of what's the understanding of the data and information in their business and more the automation, the employees are generally happier. So I want to talk a minute about how you can actually execute this for your business. So who's involved? So buy-in needs to be from the top. You need executives, you need someone that really has control in the business to get involved with this. You want to build your team and you want to understand who's capable of executing this. You want to evaluate internal and external options and make sure you have the right team to implement this properly for your business. I like to use the who, not how concept. Next thing you want to do is you want to look at the BI platform. What are your requirements that you need for the platform? And you just want to make sure that the platform has all these capabilities before you start investing in this technology. Power BI, I found, has a lot of the requirements that I've needed for a lot of the implementations, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't double check before you implement a solution that this has the ability to do everything that you need. A few of the ones you want to look at are refresh requirements, and then the biggest one is just all the software you want to connect. Make sure that the platform can connect to it. A lot of software nowadays have this concept of an open API or different connectors that allow you to get this done. So for the most part, the major players allow you to make the connections you need. And then the last thing is, define your scope. So are you going to do it from an individual or team base? You're going to do it for a department, or is it a company-wide initiative? And how are you going to go about that? And then also define actionable KPIs or metrics that you want to accomplish when focusing on your dashboards. So you can do it from a data perspective where it's a more discovery side of things, or you can do it where you're focusing on specific KPIs and metrics that you want to help make sure you're achieving on a monthly, quarterly basis. All right, so next steps. So if you want to learn more, you can obviously search the internet, and there's plenty of research out there to learn more about it. You can read books. One book that I'd recommend that talks a lot about the financial transformation and touches on the digital transformation as part of that is called Deep Finance. I enjoyed reading it. I'd recommend that. And then if you want to learn, if you just want to see a Power BI demo, you can go to www.analyticalcfo.com, and that's just a Power BI demo that I created, and you can click around and just see how easy it is to interact with a business intelligence platform. I know I probably made it look easy and very intuitive. I bet if you were to hop in there and play around with it for a few minutes, you'd realize that it's not that hard. If you feel pretty good about it and you want to have a conversation about strategy, feel free to reach out to me personally or reach out to Paragus IT. And the same goes if you're ready to implement, me or Paragus kind of help and guide you in that direction as well. A few final thoughts. So democratizing data gives everyone a better sense of independence and control while making it harder to hide and increasing accountability. So what this means is as information becomes clear to everyone in your business, people feel like they have more control over what they're doing in the company, more control of their fate. And it also creates more accountability in the business. It also creates processes and gets more documented processes and gets rid of that secret sauce that you see from longtime employees that you're always worried about. I'd recommend upskilling employees and providing training on data literacy and critical thinking. I know a lot of people work on software specific training, but it's important, especially as time goes on, to be getting employees to be able to think on their feet and critically, and essentially just less monkey work. People don't want to be doing mundane work. And then the last thing I want to talk about is just your digital transformation. So take it in stages, one small win at a time. The greater economies of scale will lead to increased profits, which as your digital transformation becomes more mature, this will happen. And then as you become more centralized from a digital transformation standpoint and data standpoint, you become more attractive from a larger company. So either you'll become more attractive from a profitability standpoint as you run your business and keep going with that, as was my initial intent with Williams Distributing, or if you decide to sell, you become more attractive to a business because they don't want to take over a data mess. They want a business that is more structured and in control of what's happening. So I'm actually going to pass it back to Delcy, but if you're interested in learning more about how to transform your business, I'd be happy to talk with you one-on-one.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Drew, for all that helpful information. I'm just going to kind of wrap us up real quick here, and then we can open it up for any questions from the audience. So hopefully, the goal here today was really just to start to get those light bulbs lit up, to kind of give you guys some ideas and perspective of what is possible, what's out there, help you evaluate comparatively to what you're doing now. Is there more you could be doing? Is there a way that you could improve on this? And I think to Drew's point, you take it in baby steps. It may be focusing on one department or one team, one aspect of the business. But the point is just you always want to be moving forward. You always want to be getting closer to using technology, information, data, intelligence better. And that leverages things like automation and AI and allows you to run a more efficient and then more profitable business. And the challenge is if you're not doing this and everybody else is, you're going to find yourself slipping behind pretty quickly. So what we don't want is for you to feel lost. If you are feeling like this is something you want to learn more about, to Drew's point, we're happy to help you. Either Paragus or Drew and his business can help you kind of figure out where are you at now, where do you want to go, and how can we help create that map for you. And then from there, our job is really to be your Sherpa. We'll do the heavy lifting. We'll be the ones kind of carrying your gear and looking around the corner and being your trail guide. Your job is to know where you want to go and then to kind of keep the energy and enthusiasm up throughout the journey so that we can help you get there. And so with that, I am going to officially open it up for questions. I think Drew is going to post in the chat his contact information, so keep an eye out for that. But let me go ahead and open it up either in the chat or if anybody wants to unmute and ask any questions they have. Any questions at all? All right, well then with that, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys get back to your busy days. Hopefully take your, a note to keep an eye on this topic. You don't want to just get back to your day and then forget all about this. This truly does have the ability to have an enormous impact on your business. And so try to make some time to come back to this topic and revisit it. Thomas asked, is Tableau integrated? So Tableau would be another comparative to Power BI. It would be like the equivalent of Power BI. So you'd either use Power BI or Tableau. And Tableau, like Power BI, does have interfaces to a lot of other products. It is now owned by Salesforce, and so it's a little bit maybe more narrow, but it historically has been a Power BI competitor.
Yeah, so you can integrate all of them through connections. They all work pretty similar where you do some sort of data engineering and connection in the background. So they're all able to integrate to the software you need for the most part.
And even on that point, occasionally if we run into a software that doesn't have an automatic integration with Power BI, a lot of times those softwares are capable of doing an export to a CSV. Yeah. And so if your software can support exporting to a CSV, we can point Power BI to that CSV And sometimes you can even schedule your software to dump to a CSV on a set basis, like once a week, once a day, once an hour. And we can actually point Power BI to that file that's going to be constantly updated automatically. So even if there isn't an integration, because you have older technology or maybe legacy on-premise technology, there often is a way to do it. It's just a matter of how complicated is it going to be and what that's going to look like. There are, yeah, go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, so exporting large files to Excel, it can be a problem. So Excel, when you're working in very large files, it all depends how you do it. Once you get past a certain amount of rows, it gets challenging. I think Excel caps out around like 1 million rows. So it really depends how much transactional data you're doing and how far you get along with that. So if you have 500,000 rows, I'm sure it's fine. But the more and more you're working with it and you start manipulating stuff in the Excel spreadsheet, you can start running into issues. It's really how you're designing the spreadsheet, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. It's definitely easier when you're exporting to Excel to do that. What I've actually been doing, and I had a client earlier this summer where the plan was to give him a report and analysis in Excel, and I actually ended up doing it in Power BI because from an efficiency standpoint, it was going to take me a lot less time to build him out a dashboard in Power BI that gave him all the analytics and insights he needed versus doing it in Excel, because it's just so much more intuitive and quicker to put together. And a lot of the functionality that Excel actually had through an add-on, I forget what it was called, in Excel, they actually got rid of the add-on and switched it all to Power BI about 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo that. I used to be a diehard Excel person, and I have been a convert. If you love Excel, you're really going to love Power BI because it's a lot of the same principles and dynamics. It's obviously another Microsoft platform. It's built off a lot of the same languages. So it has a certain comfort to it, but it's a much more powerful tool that lets you do things that you always wished Excel could do and do them very quickly and intuitively.
Well, and it also has automation aspects, this thing called like Power Query and how it connects and refreshes things. A lot of the formulas actually breaks them out into stages. Then it allows you to refresh and kind of create this automation thing where you're not doing processes multiple times. You're kind of not copy and pasting CSV files and manipulating data as much anymore.
Absolutely.
So consistency.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will send out a copy of this recording to anybody who signed up, as well as some additional material from Drew that you might find helpful. So if this is a topic you want to learn more about, please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day.